to be James Bond. I would find myself striking up conversations with men and women well beyond my years, because no matter how old or young you are, the debonair ways of MI6's most daring agent appeal to all ages and sexes. I would often try to emulate the swagger of a Sean Connery with the charm of a Roger Moore and match it with the exquisiteness of a Pierce Brosnan. Sometimes I would even borrow my father's suit jacket and walk past the master bathroom mirror a la the opening title gun barrel scene with a hairbrush in hand, as opposed to a Walther PPK, turning perpendicular to the mirror and firing off my best shot as the imaginary blood of my foe would slowly drip down. It was because of this that I remained in love with this character and the world that the secret agent inhabited. Years later, I found myself proving my love for James Bond in a movie trivia competition. Safe to say, I met someone who had the love and passion for Bond same as I, and made quite the formidable opponent. After the trivia match concluded, I had the inspiration for this book, and I knew Mike Kalinowski was the person to team up with to write it. Mike. Racist. Sexist. Murderer. Not exactly the words you immediately think of when you imagine the debonair James Bond. And yet that was the way that 007 was brought to life. The character of Bond is one that has evolved almost more than a great majority of characters in popular fiction. There is a reason he has endured for over 60 years. Ask anyone who is a Bond fan what Bond means to them. I'd bet you'd get vastly different answers from every person you asked. For those of us that love the character, that love has probably come from a different place for each of us. For me, Bond will always be about my grandfather. My introduction to the world of Bond was through Roger Moore. It wasn't my dad who took me to my first Bond movie, it was my grandfather. The movie he took me to? A View to a Kill. I can still remember the theater in Buffalo, New York that we saw it at, from the very first scene of Bond snowboarding to California girls. Of course, it was not until much later in my life that I realized this film would be viewed as one of the worst in the franchise's history. Still, for this young fan, it was the greatest. For me, the Moore-led films had it all. Gadgets, cool cars, awesome action, and heroes who always ended up saving the day. From that film on, my love would only grow. I have such fond memories associated with these films, looking forward to every Thanksgiving when TNT would run the Bond marathon all holiday weekend long, getting excited every time a new film would be released on VHS. DVD was not a thing yet. Seeing the new cover art that UA had designed to create a unison within all the films released up to that point. Feeling the thrill that one November in 1995 when my best friend and I, away at school at Florida State University, sat down in the theater. The lights dimmed, and then the gun barrel opening flashed across the screen yet again, signaling Bond's return with GoldenEye. I never set out to write a book about James Bond. Never even had the idea pop into my head. Now, I could sit here and tell you about how I am one of the biggest Bond fans in the world, but that still wouldn't change the fact that I had no desire to write a book about him. But I do know the movies. So much so that some friends have called me a walking Bond encyclopedia. That knowledge, useless knowledge, came in handy for me when I was asked to join an online trivia show called the Movie Trivia Schmodown. Think a trivia competition crossed with the characters and storylines from professional wrestling, and you get a small idea of what it is. The show takes competitors from all over the world, creates storylines and characters from them, and then has them battle it out in movie trivia. The show has an international audience and one that travels the country putting on live shows, online shows, as well as pay-per-view and exhibition matches. In the game, there is a round where 12 slices are put on a wheel and the competitor then spins the wheel. Whichever slice it lands on, the player then gets 5 questions in that category. There are hundreds of categories, and each player selects 2 slices, usually something they're highly knowledgeable in, to add to the 8 random ones on the wheel. Well, as you can guess, Bond is my go-to choice. I had gotten a reputation in the league for being a killer with Bond, so much so that a special rule, the Kalinowski rule, was implemented, which meant that a player could only spin